Hello, happy once again, Dumelang. I hope you're all well. I just did a previous video, and I had some more thoughts on the situation. I guess the video should be up by now. It has to do with facing unemployment in South Africa and the impossible task of having to get back up on your feet against, first of all, an economy that is stagnant, to say the least. If there's any movement, it seems to be negative. It seems to be contracting, and so far, well, not so far anyway. I mean, ever since the last 10 years or so, there's a reason we call them the wasted years or the wasted decade. I can't remember the exact term. Ever since Jacob Zuma took over, but there is a video on that, and go watch it. But it doesn't really matter, because I think what I'm about to talk about now is, it's related, but I think you can watch it separately. So yeah, it's okay if you don't watch it. It's okay. I just had another thought. Okay, another thought. How heartless do you have to be to go from a hero to a villain? This is a question I've been asking myself for a while now. And I ask this in direct reference to the South African governing party, which is the ANC, right? I've never been a politics person. I will admit that to you. Never been a politics person. I just lived my life, to be honest, right? Until, you get to a point where you're forced to care about politics because, you pay tax now. You pay tax now, right? You can vote now. A lot of the policies that are taken, you have to have a say. You cannot just cruise through life, especially in South Africa, a country in which the ruling party really just uses appeals to emotion more than anything else. And it's not just them, by the way, right? It's not just them. Every party uses appeals to emotion. I was watching the Patriotic Alliance party leader, Dayton McKenzie. Gayton or Dayton? I think it's Gayton, yeah. He was using appeals to emotion, but that's another day. That's a conversation for another day. And, in South Africa, like I said, the ANC uses appeals to emotion all the time. Whenever the ANC is asked, what have you done for the people? Right? Now, have they actually improved living standards and so on? Right? I say yes, they have. But the difference is that this is what we expected. And this is, wait. This is what we got. Right? We expected, down, all the way down there. We expected this, and this is what we got. Okay? Now, the ANC has improved South Africa in many ways. But I would actually argue that the removal of, for example, apartheid policies was, by definition, going to improve South African lives. Okay? But that's, again, a topic to get into for another day. That's not what I want to talk to you about right now. I wanna put a question to you. Okay? I want to put a question to you. How heartless does one have to be to fight, to struggle, to suffer, and to know how all of this feels, all the poverty, living in the townships where the vast majority of the criminal behavior is, not because these people are horrible, but because people are poor. Poverty and crime tend to have a very high correlation in any society. Okay? To have all these experiences and then you have the power to change the conditions that your fellow Africans find themselves in because of colonialism. You find yourself in a position to change this, okay? And for some reason, you just don't do anything. In fact, not only do you do nothing, but you make the poverty worse. You make it worse. Right? You make it worse. South Africa was horrible under apartheid. It wasn't just the government corruption. It wasn't just the unregulated capitalism, for example. Because, you know, when you are a country that is, you know, banned from the rest of the world and stuff like that, you kind of have to engage in unregulated, you know, means of production and stuff like that. But it was horrible. It wasn't just the economic policies and stuff like that, right? It wasn't just the structure of government and the fact that 90% of the population were disenfranchised and stuff like that. No. It was horrible. And then you somehow managed to take that system. You do very well for about the first 15 years of South African democracy. They were fantastic. They were very well. Our country was growing. Okay? And then the corruption, the rot, suddenly just creeps in. You know? Just creeps in. And we find ourselves somehow, right? We find ourselves in a situation where 500 billion rands was stolen and looted. Emergency funds stolen and looted by the very same people who we elected into office to protect us in a pandemic where people lost their jobs, where people couldn't make a living anymore. We have a recession. There's no way you can look at COVID and say, this was a nice experience. This was a nice time to be a human. It was fantastic for the planet, you know, less pollution and all that other stuff, blah, blah, blah. But to be a human, to be a economy, the COVID virus is like your worst nightmare. How do you go from being the heroes of this country? Not just you, by the way, okay? Not just you. There were other parties and other figures, right? Obviously, but you know how the ANC is like the middle, you know, the prodigal child of like the apartheid struggle, right? So I'm just going to talk about the ANC right now, because all the other movements that were involved during the struggle, they're not in power. So their influence on this country more or less ends right around 1994. It just ends. right? It bothers me, man. It bothers me. It bothers me how you can go from being for the people to being against the people in such a... I have somewhere to be, yeah? So, yeah, just looking at my WhatsApp real quick. It bothers me. It really does. How you can share the ideals of the people, you know? And then all of a sudden, you just switch over. The moment you have power, you switch over. You keep the system as it is. You introduce a phony nonsense of a policy called BEE, which, by the way, it's a good idea. It's a really good idea. However, the implementation of it has been a disaster. It's been a disaster. You introduce it, and then after you introduce it, you use BEE as a kind of smokescreen for more of your corruption. You know, I have a video that I'm going to do about ANC voters. I have a video I want to do about ANC voters. I have a lot of things to say about ANC voters, and this is not the video, okay? But, you know, there's a certain question, a certain philosophical question that has to be asked about the cynicism and just how comfortable these people are with betraying the masses that they so pretend to serve. They see the poverty every day. And even worse, the vast majority of these people, they were poor. They come from these townships. They've experienced the hardships of living in a township, being born there, with education that is subpar, with economic opportunities that are subpar, around crime, around drug abuse, around domestic abuse, around alcohol abuse. And yet, not only do they turn a blind eye, okay, they actively make it worse. It exposes a certain level of, and it's not just the corruption. My question is put, I would say, more specifically to the more I can't even explain it. It's evil. That's all I can say. And how you get a whole group of people to participate in the evil that you carry out against the masses. And then every 5 years, you have the gall, you have the stomach, the guts, baba. Malana. Sibiti. So what's Sibiti king? The liver. Okay? You have the guts to go out every 5 years and pretend that everything's okay. You have the guts to go out every 5 years and pretend that you didn't make the people's lives worse. And the saddest part out of all this is the fact that you know they're going to vote for you. You know they're going to vote for you. That's why you keep doing it. When a person is in an abusive relationship, and they have been abused once, and then the person apologizes. I won't do it again. Right? The perpetrator apologizes. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I know I hit you, I know I did this, but I won't do it again. And then, you come back to the relationship on the promise that you won't do it again. Right? And then they do it again. And then they apologize. I won't do it again. And then it repeats and repeats and repeats until basically you get to a point where this person is still abusing you, but they're not apologizing anymore because they know, what's the point of apologizing? You're going to keep coming back. You're going to keep coming back for more. It's a kind of situation basically where you turn into a kind of masochist. Except the masochism is not for pleasure in this case. It actively serves to your detriment as a person. I have a lot to say about ANC supporters. A lot. But yeah, let me end my video here, okay? Tell me what you think, man. What level of evil really do you have to sink to do this to your own people? The people you fought to liberate, the people you fought with, the people you fought for. Give me your thoughts. I'd like to know, because I cannot wrap my head around the things that are happening in this country. As I watch the commission, as I watch the NPA, as I watch a lot of the reports that keep coming out of ESCOM corruption, the Guptas obviously, and then you have the Zuma trial coming up. Well, he just postponed that one for like another month or so. That's actually 3 weeks, I think. It's like 16 June, I think. Yeah, something like that is when his trial will continue. But yeah, man, it's sad. But tell me what you think, okay? And have a nice day. I'll see you on the next one, okay? I have somewhere to be. Ciao.